What happened at that NFL game wasn't just a few boos from the stands. It was a roar, a collective eruption from tens of thousands of Americans who finally said what many have been thinking for years: enough. Enough lies, enough propaganda, enough self-worship from a man who once called himself the voice of the people, but has spent every moment since proving that he was only ever in it for himself. Donald Trump walked into that stadium expecting applause. He got a wake-up call instead. It happened during the Washington Commanders game, where the former president arrived with his entourage, beaming and waving, trying to stage what his campaign insiders later admitted was meant to be a comeback optics moment. Cameras rolled, flags waved, Fox News hyped his appearance. But what they couldn't control was the crowd, tens of thousands of regular fans, not the hand-picked supporters he's used to at his rallies. When Trump's face appeared on the giant screen, the stadium turned. The boos began as a low rumble, then erupted into a thunder that drowned out the announcer. People stood up, pointed, shouted, gave him the thumbs down, and made clear exactly what they thought of his greatness. In that moment, all the digital spin in the world couldn't save him. Every microphone in the arena caught the sound. Every camera saw the truth. The irony: Trump was there to administer an oath of enlistment for a group of new military recruits. The crowd was supposed to cheer. It was supposed to be a patriotic moment, a cinematic display of flags, soldiers, and unity. Instead, it became one of the most humiliating scenes of his post-presidency. As he stumbled through the words of the oath, misreading and mumbling, the crowd's rejection only grew louder. Even MAGA-leaning social media pages couldn't hide it. They tried to call the crowd ungrateful, but the videos were undeniable. The booing was deafening. For years, Trump has lived in a controlled environment. Rallies packed with loyalists, interviews prearranged, crowds filtered to ensure adoration. But when he stepped into a space he couldn't control, a real American crowd with real people, the illusion shattered. No teleprompter could save him. No propaganda edit could change that sound. And make no mistake, Trump knew it. You could see it in his eyes, that flicker of shock beneath the practiced grin. He tried to wave it off, to pretend it didn't bother him. But Trump feeds off validation like oxygen. And what he heard instead was rejection. Behind the scenes, his team scrambled. Reporters in the press box said his staff immediately called friendly outlets, begging them not to show the footage. But by then, it was already everywhere. Fans had recorded it from every angle. Social media filled with clips of the moment Trump realized the crowd was not his audience. Hashtags like "booed at NFL" and "Commander Crowd" trended within minutes. Even Fox News, which had given him broadcast space during the third quarter to talk politics over the game, couldn't hide what happened. Trump hijacked the commentary booth to ramble about Biden, tariffs, and historic greatness. But every network feed that cut to the crowd showed something very different. Ordinary Americans turning their backs, shaking their heads, laughing, and booing. And then came the insult to injury. Reports surfaced that Trump had suggested naming the Commanders' new stadium after himself. Trump Stadium. He had called it a beautiful name. It was meant as a joke, perhaps, but the timing was disastrous. While fans booed him in real time, he was literally floating the idea of putting his name on their home field for the American public watching. The symbolism was impossible to miss. Here was a man booed by the people, yet still dreaming of stamping his name on their spaces, their stadiums, their government, their lives. The moment carried echoes of his presidency, self-promotion over service, ego over empathy. Even some of his former allies couldn't spin it. Conservative pundits like Johnny MAGA admitted online, "This is the most disgraceful thing I have ever seen." Fans booed Trump while he was literally swearing in troops. But what they called disgrace was, in truth, democracy speaking. The boos weren't disrespectful to troops. They were directed at the man who had spent years with his political while cutting veterans, questioning his status, and pardoning war criminals. Trump had hoped for a made-for-TV moment of patriotism. Instead, it became a viral moment of humiliation. But the story didn't end in the stadium. That same weekend, Trump had spent his time at Mar-a-Lago, throwing lavish parties while millions of Americans waited for federal payments blocked by the ongoing government shutdown. Families couldn't afford groceries, veterans were struggling with health care gaps, and SNAP benefits were hanging by a thread. Yet Trump partied, posed and plotted photo ops, a football game, a fake ceremony, and a television appearance, as if he was still the star of his own reality show. Meanwhile, his administration quietly sent letters to states demanding that they undo emergency food payments made in November. The same Trump who claims to fight for the working class was literally trying to claw back money already given to hungry families. Governors like Tony Evers of Wisconsin refused. No, he said flatly, posting his response publicly. That's the kind of leadership Trump brought into that stadium. And the people in those stands knew it. They didn't boo out of partisanship. They booed out of recognition. They saw through the act. Even now, Trump's obsession with image hasn't faded. He's been bragging about building a new ballroom at the White House, a $300 million masterpiece, he calls it, while simultaneously posting fake articles from a parody website that claimed Barack Obama was secretly collecting millions in Obamacare royalties. The site's own disclaimer, literally, says everything is fiction, yet Trump reposted it as fact. That's who showed up at that NFL game. A man detached from reality, surrounded by sycophants, still addicted to the illusion of adoration. But the booze broke that illusion. Even his economic promises that week turned out to be empty. Trump claimed Americans would soon receive 2,000 tariff dividend checks. Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent had to walk it back, admitting it wasn't real, saying vaguely that it could come in lots of forms, maybe as tax breaks. In other words, another Trump fantasy, another false promise to distract the public from chaos. And that's why the NFL crowd reacted the way it did, because people are tired. They've seen this movie before. The lies, the self-congratulations, the endless grift dressed up as patriotism. For years, Trump's team has argued that media coverage is biased, that polls are fake, that critics are radical left. But the stadium crowd that booed him wasn't radical. They were average Americans, football fans, veterans, families, people from every walk of life. The kind of people Trump used to call his base. And they booed him not because of ideology, but because of fatigue. Fatigue from being used, manipulated, and lied to. Trump often boasts that he's the most popular man in the world. Yet the real world keeps reminding him otherwise. Every time he steps out of his carefully managed bubble, reality catches up. Whether it's in courtrooms where judges scold him, town halls where voters confront him, or football games where the crowd roars in rejection, the truth always finds him. The sound of that stadium wasn't just noise. It was a verdict. It was America saying we remember. We remember the shutdowns, the chaos, the hunger, the divisiveness, the arrogance. We remember the families separated at the border, the mockery of science during a pandemic, the endless scandals and grifts. We remember the lies, and the crowd that night reminded him that power borrowed from fear always fades. Because fear cannot silence truth forever. Some of his allies tried to spin the footage, calling it fake or edited. But too many cameras caught, too many phones. Even international media, from London to Sydney. The humiliation went global. And for once, it wasn't political commentators or late-night hosts mocking him. It was ordinary citizens showing him the mirror. You see, power thrives on illusion, but every illusion cracks under light. That's why Trump's response afterward was telling. Instead of humility, he doubled down. He posted edited clips of applause, trying to drown out the boos. He shared flattering images of himself waving to adoring crowds. But the truth was already out there. Raw, unfiltered, undeniable. Even some Republican strategists quietly admitted that the incident was a disaster. One aide reportedly told a journalist he needs to stop doing unscripted public events. The boos are becoming part of his brand. Another called it the new normal. And yet Trump will keep seeking the spotlight. Because for him, attention is currency, even when it's negative. What he doesn't realize is that every desperate appearance, every hollow stunt, every self-made spectacle only deepens the fatigue. Americans are not fooled. So what happens next? The same cycle will continue. Trump will try to spin humiliation into martyrdom. His allies will cry, "Witch hunt," and his base will be told the boos were fake news. But the footage doesn't lie. The stadium that day was a snapshot. Tired of chaos and unafraid to show. And for all the noise Trump tries to keep it is the sound of raw, unfiltered, unified. Because in that sea of voices, amid the booms of the air, was something else Trump left that stadium pretending it didn't happen, smiling stiffly, waving as if all were well. But the echo followed him, down the tunnel, into the motorcade, back to his mansion. You can't run from the sound of your own reckoning.